The KrisAnne Hall Show.
Any varmint that crosses that lady's path has met its match.
Come on!
Rise and shine, liberty-loving patriots. Welcome to the KrisAnne Hall Show. KrisAnne Hall here, KrisAnnehall.com. I am so blessed this week to be at Camp Constitution. So I am in Rindge, New Hampshire. Very excited to be here. You know, I have some very special guests, and I'm looking at them. You're not, obviously. But, you know, ladies, the last time I was in New Hampshire, I was defending someone who had been arrested for handing out gospel tracts on the street corner. And so this is obviously a much more pleasant trip for me than the last one. But I have three very beautiful ladies with me today. They are sisters, and they are campers here at Camp Constitution, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves, so go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Gracie.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Jillian.
All right, ladies, where are you from originally?
We are from Woodhaven, Michigan.
And where? How far is that from Rindge?
Oh, that's like 13 and a half hours away.
Golly, did you drive?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my goodness, drive. Okay, so how many times have you been to Camp Constitution?
This is my 5th year, but my family has come 4 years now.
All right, we're going to ask each and every one of you individually, why are you here? And, you know, don't break out of the mold, okay? You don't have to worry about it.
I'm here because, first of all, my family, my dad and my brothers would come here a long time ago when it was just the John Birch Society, and then they changed it to Camp Constitution. So I was waiting forever to come here, and I couldn't come until I was 13. And so when I got to come, I was so excited because I've heard so many good things about it. My dad's a real patriot, so I wanted to be like my dad and knowing and knowledge of what's going on in America right now. So I also like history. I want to learn about the true history here. And I also want to make friends that, you know the same things that I do, share same interests in what I like to talk about. So that's my reason why I'm here.
All right, and Jillian?
Like Haley said, our family has come here before, and I wanted to come. Haley told me so many fun stories. I saw pictures, and we came the next year. It was so fun. I had made a lot of friends, and I wanted to learn about how to defend our liberty, basically, because it's going away.
All right, awesome. And Gracie?
Well, I come just to meet all the friends and to learn about the history and all that's jazz. And like they said.
So you guys come to learn about the history. What have you learned so far this trip?
That our government is really bad right now.
Yeah. So what do you think is, hold on, Gracie, one more time. What do you think is probably the most startling thing that you've learned so far? I mean, have you learned something that you thought to be different?
I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, all right. What about you?
I've learned that since I was in your class earlier, a lot of history is repeating itself right now. Mm-hmm. Like, you listed off a bunch of things, and I was like, oh my gosh, did you just, explain this century? And you're like, no, that was back when. Mm-hmm. I was like, whoa, that is so different. I didn't even know, because I know my history, but I don't know, the deep in, certain kind of people. Like, you mentioned names that I'd never heard of, and I want to look them up and see who they are and know other people's observation on history.
Awesome. So. We talked about this morning about Mercy Otis Warren's history book that she wrote, and Mercy Otis Warren was one of our founding mothers who turned around and wrote a history book about the revolution that she lived through. And it's so amazing to actually read those words. And I love introducing Mercy to the young ladies because you guys probably never heard of her before, have you?
No. And when you said that our founding fathers were writing letters to her, I was like, that is crazy. Because, most of the time back then, women's were, portrayed as these just housewives. They weren't allowed to do much, but clearly she's not.
Well, that's totally a lie.
That is?
That is totally a lie.
Okay.
The women were so involved. The women were on the battlefield during our Revolutionary War. We had women who were loading ammunition and loading cannons and fighting. They were not just at home, barefoot and pregnant and creating meals and stuff. They were actually fighting. Mercy was doing the writing. The women traveled around the country and taught each other how to make their own clothes out of linen and flaxen and wool. Flaxen's a weed They were weaving clothes out of weaves so they didn't have to buy the government-mandated linens. They were teaching each other how to make tea out of sassafras and raspberry so they didn't have to buy the government-mandated tea. They were very, very proactive in the liberty movement.
Sounds like it.
So, Julian, what did you... That's surprising, though, because you guys have been taught that the women just sat back and did nothing. And we, as women, we need to know how powerful we are and how influential we really were. And, I mean, John Adams relied on the women more than, I think, than the men in his lives. I mean, his wife... His wife, Abigail, but he was also a pen pal to Mercy.
Yeah, and when you said that today, I was really shocked. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
All right, Jillian, what have you learned so far, maybe, that you didn't know before?
Well, like how they're changing our history, like in the new school curriculum they're doing, and that most of the history is being completely changed, that it's not even true, not even basically the basis. Like you made the what's it called?
Analogy?
No, I don't even know the word. You like when I don't know.
That's okay.
I can't think of the word.
That's all right. It happens to me all the time.
The demonstration
and it really stinks,
when like Haley and I were at a party, but that you would ask Nathaniel.
Right.
Why wouldn't you just ask us directly? Basically, read the books that were written during that time, and not the books that are made in 2014 and written from all these colleges that are taught wrong.
Right. Exactly. So what we're talking about is the principle of reading original source documents. And the analogy that I made in the classroom for the young ladies is you and your best friend go out on a Saturday night. Mm-hmm. Am I going to ask the guy down the street what you guys did? Or am I going to go to you and ask you what you did? Because original source information is always the best information. And so much of our history has been tainted. I mean, even from the original perspective, you know, that most of our people have, that the women were useless. You know, they did nothing. Think about just how that little thought changes all the history that you know. I mean, if you have been raised for generations thinking that the women did nothing in the revolution, are you even going to waste your time researching anything about the women during that period?
No.
Not.
No.
Not if you know, like, if you have the idea of, oh, they didn't do anything, so I'm not going to look at them.
They're not special. They didn't do anything interesting, go to war, stuff like that.
Right. Well, you guys learned about Penelope Barker, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to look her up when I get home. After this week. I've got a book.
So, well, let me ask you something. Since you guys have been coming here for a while, and I'll ask each and one of you, you can pass the mic around, what is it that you hope to take away from Constitution Camp?
I hope to take away knowledge that I know how to defend our Constitution and how to tell people what's going on, to inform them that our government is not what they think it is, that it's not what it was supposed to be, and that it's fading away very, very fast.
Okay.
It's not like I don't already know how to defend my Constitution. It's just, learning more. Like, you can never stop learning. Like you said, if you're a teacher,
yeah.
do you want to be a good teacher? And
Continue to learn.
Always learn. So I like to study. I like to inform myself on new things. And every time I come to this camp, I learn something new. I walk away with knowing new things, and that's great to have. I come back home and my brothers are like, oh, how was camp? And I tell them about my whole entire time, and then I get to tell other friends, and they're like, oh, that sounds like a cool camp. I'm like, you should go.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But then they don't know. There's certain liberal parts of them that they're like, oh, I shouldn't go to that camp. And it's like, no, you need to just see it. You can't just judge it with, don't judge a book by its cover.
Well, you guys are now missionaries, right? Because you have this truth, and you're able to bring it back to them. See, they're afraid of the truth, and they've been told that this information is bad. See, this is what's one of the big problems with the school systems that we have now. We teach our children to be afraid of new ideas, challenging ideas. You believe what you're told, and that's all you have to do. And that's not right. Benjamin Franklin said, without freedom of thought, there is no knowledge. Without freedom of speech, there's only tyranny. And so what we have are we're raising people who don't know how to think freely. They're afraid of new thoughts. So, Gracie, tell us what you take away from all of this.
Well, I would take away a lot of stuff, so I could tell a bunch of people about, the history and all that stuff, and just tell them what's going on nowadays. And
well, tell me something. Now, Haley mentioned that you guys have friends that don't necessarily think the way you do. How do you you can answer individually or as a group. Haley can hold it. You guys can squeeze together or whatever. But tell me, how do you deal with friends who think you wear a tinfoil hat, that think you're crazy, and, oh, well, you know what, it's okay, shut up, I don't want to hear about that, let's just go on and do whatever it is that young people do during their days these days?
Well, a lot of people tell me that if something's wrong, that I should just accept it.
Yeah.
I tell them, you don't accept something you don't believe in. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. And I say, you have to stand for what you believe in. And then they're like, well, why would you do that? I'm like, because I want to believe what I want to believe. I want to believe in the truth, not these lies that people are telling you. And a lot of them are just scared. They're afraid to go outside of their bubble or the crowd.
Or
because
think differently than others.
Yeah, they have this one set mind. Everyone wants to think the same thing, so they're cool. And it's like, no, being cool is being individual, your own self.
Original.
Yeah, original's awesome.
You know what? There's nothing cool about being a slave.
There's nothing.
No, there's
with the
nothing
crowd.
cool about going along to get along so that you're in servitude.
We have this thing at our karate school, and it's a plaque. And I always, think of it sometimes when people are like following the crowd. It says, be a leader, not a follower. So I take that always into consideration when people are telling me, oh, you should just why do you say that? Just accept it. I'm like, no, I'm a leader, not a follower. You are clearly a follower.
Well, we need young people that are going to be able to pick up where we leave off. We're so far down the wrong path, that I'm not sure if my generation is going to get back to where you guys need to be. So the camp constitution is so important to set the foundation for you guys. Now, what we're going to do now is go on a short break, and we're going to finish up our interview when we come back. But I'm always telling people, look, because everyone's like, where's George Washington today? Where's Sam Adams today? Where's Penelope Barker today? I say, you know what? Don't wait for the return of our framers. Be one.
Yeah.
Stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the KrisAnne Hall Show. I have my 3 beautiful guests with me today, Gracie, Haley, and Jillian. And I am excited to have these young women patriots. And I'm very excited to have been able to introduce them. I'm like not even composing myself here, about to bawl my eyeballs out. I'm very excited to have been able to introduce them to Penelope Barker and to Mercy Otis Warren, because you guys know who listen to me that when I get to heaven, I cannot wait to meet Mercy. She and I share a kindred spirit. I don't know if I channel her or something. I don't know how that works anyway, but I admire her so much for what she does, and I'm admiring you guys for taking the stand that you have to take. Now, I'm going to let a cat out of the bag here. You guys are homeschooled, right?
Yes,
we
are.
Oh, okay. So there you go. They're homeschooled. That gives you a little clue. Do you know you guys are part now of an organized terrorist group?
We are.
Simply because you're
Oh
homeschooled.
my
yeah, you're not part
We're
of
dangerous
the
people.
government machine. You are very, very dangerous
Legal
people.
weapons here.
And being on my I should have given your parents this disclaimer too. Being on my show makes you affiliated with a known terrorist. So I apologize for that, but you're already on the list, right?
yeah.
Because you're conservative, you're Christian, you're homeschool. Don't worry.
We got so many flags against us.
It's okay.
We're not doing so good.
It's okay. You are doing good, because the spirit of who we are is independence.
Yes.
That's how we were born through this country, is the spirit of independence. So if you could say one thing to your peers and have them listen, I'll give you each an opportunity to do that. What would you say, Gracie, and how old are you, Gracie?
12.
12. Okay, so what would you say to your fellow 12-year-olds if you could say anything that you think would matter?
I would just say that they should stand up for what they believe in, like, if they believe in, like...
But the important thing is standing for what you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're built on a country based on liberty. You don't have to believe what I believe, but you do have to stand. I mean, don't just sort of go along to get along, right? I mean, that's who we are. All right, Haley, tell me, if you could, how old are you?
I'm 17.
All right, wow, you get to vote next year. You will be voting in the next presidential election.
Oh, wow. I get to make a difference.
Yeah, how crazy. But you know what's even more important, since I'll plant the seed for you, more important than presidential elections are your local elections.
Yeah, I've been told many times, especially the sheriff.
Absolutely. Yes, constitutional sheriff. Okay. All right. No, really, seriously, if you have a constitutional sheriff, you don't care what the rest of the world is doing.
Yeah.
Because your constitutional sheriff will save you. I didn't watch me. My ADD is going to kick in. Are you guys familiar with the guy in Michigan who was raising pigs, and he was being attacked? Mark, and I can't remember what his last name is.
I think I heard it. I think
The pig story.
Yeah,
I think I've heard it.
I don't think
from Dad.
I'm going to be in Michigan on Sunday, actually, helping him out with. He's running for sheriff now.
Awesome.
He fought the local environmental protection agency, not the national, but the state. He gets to raise his pigs, and he called me and said, KrisAnne, I'm not going to let this happen to anybody else. I'm going to make sure I'm sheriff and that doesn't happen again. So I was very excited about that. So I'm going to be
That's
up there,
cool.
excited. So if you could say anything, Haley, what would Haley? That's what I'm talking to, right?
Yeah.
Haley, what would you say?
Like about homeschooling or just in general?
Just in general.
In general, I think that people my age are just following the crowd so much. You need to be yourself. You need to look into things, not just, the newest pop star. You need to look into your history. Know your history so then history doesn't repeat itself like it is already.
Yeah.
But try helping it not repeat itself.
Or at least learning from our mistakes.
And not
right?
only just about the Constitutional, you guys also need Christ in your life. You need Jesus. You need to be you need to be a Christian. I mean, come on, you need him. How can you live without him?
Well, without the Spirit of God, I don't think we have the strength to stand.
You don't.
So.
And all of our founding fathers were Christian. So only, America was built upon Christianity. So it needs to be there always.
Well, we're going to get an interesting lesson about that tomorrow, actually, about the foundation of America, whether it's a Christian nation or not, and how that works. But we're almost out of time, so I need to give Jillian the chance to tell us how old are you, Jillian?
I'm 14.
14. Okay, Jillian, what would you say to your fellow 14-year-olds?
I would say, like Haley said, look into your history. Don't think that you know everything just because you read your whole history book. Mm-hmm. That's not all that you have. There are so many other books out there that you could read more. You could be more learned than everyone else. You could be the person that stands up in the crowd and say, I believe in this and I'm going to stand up for it. Like Haley says, you need Christ in your life. Don't be those people that stand back and say, oh, I'm a Christian, but I'm going to stay with these cool people. Stand up and say, I'm a Christian. Be proud of what you are.
Well, thank you, ladies, for joining me today.
You're welcome.
God bless you, and thank you for being our future patriots.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
The KrisAnne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist.
Welcome back to the KrisAnne Hall Show. Weren't those young ladies delightful? I mean, you understand why I do what I do now. This is exactly why I do what I do. And the inspiration that I get from them is just unbelievable. We have another guest with us. This is just going to be the guest week, isn't it? I mean, Sunday I started off with Pastor Howard Brown, and now I have guests today, and I'll have guests tomorrow. It's just going to be awesome. So I am at Camp Constitution, or Constitution Camp.
Camp Constitution.
Camp Constitution. All right. I'm at Camp Constitution in Rindge, New Hampshire, and I have Hal Shurtleff with me, and he is the camp director. You know those three ladies that were here before, right?
Oh, yes. Wonderful young ladies.
They are. They're so bright and articulate, and they were a delight to have. So, Mr. Hal, how long have you been involved with Camp Constitution?
Well, I'm the co-founder of Camp Constitution. 2009 is when we had our first summer camp here. Mm-hmm. There was a fellow who used to live right here in Rindge, Charlie Everett, and Mrs. Ruth Harper from Western Michigan were the three co-founders. And this is our 6th annual family camp. And we used the same location right here at the Toa-Nippy Christian Retreat Center in Rindge, New Hampshire. And Rindge is in the southwest corner of the state of New Hampshire. Just a short distance from the Massachusetts border.
I was looking at my GPS, and part of the camp is
It's
actually in
Massachusetts. That's
right?
Yeah.
Awesome. But you have people from all over the country. Those girls were from Michigan.
They're from Michigan. We have folks from Western Michigan. We have folks from Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Florida.
And in Florida, yes, that's right. And we even have folks from New Hampshire. We actually have a couple of campers who live in this beautiful town.
Awesome. So why do you do this?
Well, I'm very much committed to the youth. The next generation, in my opinion, will be the generation that will either lead us back under the Constitution or will be living in a third world country. And I'm optimistic. I think that we bought some time for them. Our generation has dropped the ball or the baton for the most part, but we picked it up, and we think that by what we're doing here, we have about 100 people, 115 people. It's not a whole lot of folks here, but we're raising the next generation of leaders in the freedom movement. At the same time, those adults that are here are becoming more effective and more informed leaders in the freedom movement.
Well, I think that's great because these young people are coming together and finding out that they're not alone.
That's
that
correct.
There are people who believe what they believe, and it's not because their parents have brainwashed them or indoctrinated them to believe it. It is the truth. It's the spirit of truth that is rising up within them, and I think that's really awesome. So, what do you hope for these young people to take away from here?
Well, we have some incredible classes. Of course, you're here to. You've already given a couple of incredible classes. Everyone's raving. Where did you find her?
Well, thank you very much.
But we want them to come away from here first with an optimistic perspective that this country, not only is it savable, it's worth saving and it's savable, but it is the greatest country in the history of mankind.
Right.
That our nation was founded by principled Christian men and women, and that the purpose of government is to protect those rights, not give us rights, but protect those rights. That rights do come from God. Now, we are not a denominational camp. We have folks from various Christian backgrounds. We have Catholics and Protestants, and so we respect that difference, obviously. But we're here mostly because of our strong religious convictions and our love of liberty.
Awesome. Well, that's very exciting. And
let me point out that this is an all-volunteer camp, and it's not nobody here is getting a salary. We do pay some travel expenses for a few folks, but for the most part, everybody here is taking a week off from their jobs, and in some cases driven a long way. So it's not just 1 week, but it's 2 days to get here and 2 days to get back. And and we have to point out, too, that it's not just there's a lot of good learning going on here. We have writers, authors. Garrett Lear, the Patriot Pastor, will be here in a couple of days. Mr. Jerm Perloff, who's authored the Tornado Through a Junkyard, a book called Shadows of Power, will be here. We have a man from the Plymouth Rock Foundation that will be here speaking about the Christian perspective of the Pilgrims.
You have Reverend Kraft, and
of course Reverend Kraft. Oh well, tomorrow. Reverend Kraft is our featured instructor every year. We can't have a camp without Reverend Kraft. You kidding me? It wouldn't be a camp, right? And we have a lot of recreational activity, a lot of fun activities. We do an optional run, and we say, you know what, you don't have to run, but challenge yourself. And it's not, if you can challenge yourself physically, also challenge yourself mentally too.
Well, I can tell you, my son is 8 years old, and he is having a blast.
He looks like he's having a lot of fun. He may not let you go.
Well, like I said, when we're leaving here, we're going to North Carolina to another camp.
Yes, I know you have a very busy schedule.
This is an exciting time of the year because this is when we have the camps, and I get to teach the young people. You know, when I'm traveling, I get to teach in the high schools, I get to teach in the homeschool co-ops, and even on college campuses. But the Patriot camps are a whole lot of fun because it's like you said, it's not just learning. There's a lot of activities. And may I mention, too, I've been to a lot of camps in the last 10 years, and this is the best food I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
The best camp food ever here at in Rindge, New Hampshire. You've got to get with
Well, the
Mr.
facility
Howell.
is open year-round, too.
Oh, so they're providing the food to you?
Yeah, it's the Toa Christian Retreat Center. You can find them online, and they're fine folks. They have a great ministry here. And I get up here during the year, and my other job, and I'm up here for a day or two, and they always have a welcome mat for me, so I can stay up here. And it's a beautiful spot. You've about 250 acres. You're in the woods. Mount Monadnock is just a short distance.
You're up high too, and you can look out, and it's beautiful.
We're about 1,000 feet above sea level. Yeah, and Mount Monadnock is just about 8 miles from here. We take a hike tomorrow. An optional hike, but most of the campers participate in that.
Colton and I are going.
Oh, great.
You have to.
No flip-flops, though. You got to wear your hiking shoes.
Well, we're lowlanders, so
I know you're from Florida. I know.
There's no oxygen up here, so. So what is probably, if you have one, what is the most inspirational story that you have coming through these years?
Well, there's so many of them.
That's gone out and done something amazing.
It's so many of them. Some of our, we've seen some of the folks that have come out of here run for office, become, and they'll come out and do something simple like distribute information. One young lady gave a pamphlet to somebody about our camp. And several people came as a result of that. Something that little, and it's a life-changing. We say we can't guarantee a life-changing experience, but we say it's definitely life-affirming and potentially life-changing. But we've had people tell us that it's changed their lives, what they've learned here. And there's a lot of great camps. There's a lot of great Christian camps around here in the country. But I think we have something very unique. Not only is it's for whole families, too. We have little ones here. We have something called Patriot Camp for them as well. But one of the things we do is we take the last full day of camp, in this case it will be Saturday, we'll go out in the morning and we'll distribute constitutions to the business, some of the neighbors and the business people.
First Amendment in action.
You better believe it. And having a young person, usually you'll see young people with clipboards for Greenpeace or for some leftist group because they're getting paid 50 cents a signature. You don't see a lot of young people promoting liberty. And some of these business people are just so impressed by that. And wow, that's a very gratifying. And I say the influence that you young people have, if you used it, is phenomenal.
Oh yeah. Well, if I know being involved in this field and in media and all of this, if I can say things all day long, but if you get a young man or a young girl, 16, 17, 18, stand up and say the things that I'm saying, instant spotlight. Instant spotlight.
We have a young man, he's 8 years of age, is known as Kid Constitution, and he's memorized the Constitution. So we brought him up here, his granduncle's the his motivator, and we want to we say, hey, if this 8-year-older can learn the Constitution and memorize it. And memorizing it is great, but you have to understand it and believe it. You know, a lot of people, they go back into the world, so to speak. The Constitution is written for an agrarian culture. It's obsolete, and well, they're learning to refute all those ridiculous cliches. To us, we
did a lot of that this morning.
Oh yeah,
in my history lesson, the whole living, breathing document lie, and that's what I endeavor to do. I endeavor to arm them with the truth, because it's one thing to hand them a Constitution and to get them to memorize, but it's another thing for them to be able
internalize.
To have the confidence to stand toe to toe with the people who say those lies to them, and it's so important, Tal, because you know as well as I do, those people that are going to be standing toe to toe with them are not necessarily their peers.
That's right,
but they're
the teachers. Well, we had an interesting experience with a young man. He's a little bit old. Although a lot of our graduates, campers, come here as counselors, but he wasn't able to come here this year. But the teacher in his classroom made historical inaccuracy, and it happened to do with the character of Uncle Sam. And the teacher said, well, there's no such person. He said, well, as a matter of fact, there is. I've been to his boyhood home when we came to Camp Constitution. And the teacher got on his iPad and, oh, I guess you're right. He was a real person. You see, little things like that. Or sometimes a teacher will we've heard students come back and say, well, the teacher said this is a democracy.
Oh.
And we ask them to be respectful. Don't go up there and say you're stupid or you're a liar.
Right.
Say, you're mistaken. Or, well, I don't know if you're right. And we'll say, take them to Article 4, Section 4, where it says the United States, every state is guaranteed a Republican form of government. Then see the word democracy. The word democracy in that Constitution, you look awfully hard. Unless you write it in yourself, it's not in there. You see, so, and they get, well, what does that mean?
Well, today they learned the difference between a republic,
a
democracy, and a kingdom.
And a kingdom.
Because we laid out the political spectrum for them, so they know that there's no difference now between a kingdom and a democracy.
That's right.
And so that's what's inspired me. You know, I have a story, because my son has been traveling with me and learning with me, and we were in a shopping mall buying something, and I think he was somewhere between 6 and 7. And he looked at the lady who was checking out, who was ringing me up, and he said to her, do you know we don't want to be free? And she just sort of looked at him and cocked her head and said, what? He says, we don't want to live in a country where people are free, because when we live in a country where people are free, we're free to lie, we're free to steal, and we're free to murder.
Yeah.
He says we need to live in a country that loves God so that we can have liberty and we don't hurt each other.
True liberty, right.
And so she just sort of looked at him like he had 3 heads. But I'm bursting with pride because my 6-year-old knows the difference between liberty and freedom.
Well, Reverend Kraft, whom you'll interview, he deals a lot with the moral issues. All issues, by the way, are moral. Taxation is a moral issue.
Well, hold that thought. We're going to come back after this break and finish up today's show with Mr. Hal, so stick with us. Welcome back to the KrisAnne Hall Show here at Camp Constitution in Rindge, New Hampshire. with Hal Shurtleff, and I said that right.
You did.
I did. Awesome. I got it right. I am name deficient. I am absolutely have some type of a mental disorder when it comes to names. I cannot do them, but I'm very proud of myself. I've been sitting here practicing so I wouldn't get it wrong.
I'm flattered and humbled.
So we have just a few minutes left, and I want to ask you, Mr. Hal, if there was something that you had to say to the people who are listening to my audience, because we have listeners all over this country, and if there was something that you could tell the people in my audience about Camp Constitution and about the drive for liberty, what would you tell them?
Well, we have a vision at camp that we would like to have the camps like this in other parts of the country. And it requires work and some dedication, but it's very doable.
Liberty requires a sacrifice.
You better
regardless.
believe it. And we've had a few inquiries, and I actually spoke to a Tea Party group in near Richmond, Virginia, a few years ago to lay it out. But we would like to, if not under our umbrella, that would be there in some kind of advisory capacity. We also go to homeschool shows. We've done several in the region where we're not just trying to get people to camp, but we're trying to outreach. Mm-hmm. We have a little 10-question quiz on the Constitution, give them free copies, and we'll be doing a Cheshire Fair, which is coming up in about a couple of weeks here. So we reach out to lots of people, and if you really care about the next generation, that you need to do something like this, a camp like this, and please contact us. We have a website. It's campconstitution.net. We have a Facebook page. In fact, I'm uploading some events as the week goes on, and as our slow internet service, you really can't complain about internet service. We're in the country. You shouldn't be worried about it too much, right? But so you'll see, and we have a YouTube channel with our classes over the last 4 or 5 years. See what we learn here and see some of the fun activities and see the caliber of young people and middle-aged people and even old people that support. And if you have a business,
these are very, very bright kids here. Very, very
yes.
bright.
And if you would like to support this important work, we have a sponsors page where people make we're all volunteer. All the money we get, we do help a lot of young people come to camp. And I know that people love knowing that their investment is going to teach young people some wonderful truths. So we would like to see this camp expand. I'd like to be able to do this on a full-time basis and travel. And I do a lot of traveling. I travel around the New England, but I used to travel. But I'd like to be able to go to homeschool shows, and we actually published some books.
Nice.
And we published we put some things back in a print. You mentioned Noah Webster earlier. Mm-hmm. Did you know in 1810 he published an essay refuting global warming? And we put that.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to find that.
We put that in print. I think we're all out of that. We'll put it back in print, but it's available in Google Books. Yeah, it's a fascinating study. Yeah.
That is awesome. See, history always repeats.
You're right.
History.
Although they weren't worried about it, they thought it was a good thing. And Noah Webster was he was using the Old Testament and New Testament, looking at weather patterns, and then of course the diaries of the farmers, and when a lake froze over, and when there was the first bloom of a certain plant, and that's when they realized there was no. He said there's been cold winters and there's been warm winters, but there's no trend here. See, so
wow. Well, it's just very interesting how much we could actually learn from the wisdom of those men and women in that time. And you said something that's so very true. We have liberty to save.
That's right.
And we have been grossly negligent in our diligence. We have committed a dereliction of duty,
that's
I believe, to our children.
Sin of omission.
Absolutely. And because of that, we are giving a generation of children a country that where they know nothing but government intrusion and government regulation. Right. We're never going to get back to where we need to be, but we can raise up generations of children who will carry on the legacy for us. And then maybe they won't curse us if we actually keep fighting. Right. So give us that website one more time. It's
campconstitution.net. And also find us on Facebook.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr.
Well,
Hal,
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for bringing me here. It's been such a blessing to me. Hey, everybody, go learn about Camp Constitution. Let's defend liberty. Let's raise up some patriots. God bless. See you tomorrow.